This is The Heat Source, the podcast where we learn everything we can about hot sauce, one bottle at a time. We are your hosts, Mike and Matt, and today we're trying lemon drop and Citra hop sauce from Rhed's. Let's heat up. Welcome back to The Heat Source, where we learn about new sauces weekly, one bottle at a time. We are back with more red sauce, and this one's pretty fun because I gave you the option of how weird you want to go, and you said let's get weird. So we're doing two sauces that are going to be the most challenging for thinking outside the box, I guess.
Yeah.
We have the lemon drop fermented hot sauce from Rhed's and Citra hop sauce from Rhed's, which the lemon one by itself, I've never really had a lemon forward sauce that I can think of a hot sauce.
Right. Citrusy, but not so much lemon.
Citrusy. But, I don't know why I just said it back. Citrusy. But Rhed's Citra hop sauce, that one is going to be challenging because you had already mentioned you're not a big fan of hops.
Correct.
So this is one where we're trying it, and it's kind of all right, let's look at what we're getting from this. It's more, hey, we're trying this so you can understand what we're tasting, but if Mike gives it a low score, it's like, and even, I'm not a huge fan of hops, but I do enjoy, there's that bitterness scale.
Yeah.
I like things that are moderately in there.
Yes.
But I don't like things that are like, this is the hoppiest thing that you're going to ever try.
Right. And, maybe it's my own ignorance. My experience with hops, and I think probably 99% of everyone's experience with hops is beer, which I don't enjoy a very hoppy beer. Like, okay. I fall on the weedier side of things, but no, like a bitter, hoppy beer to me is not very good.
So I know I tried these at the show. I don't remember a whole lot about them. I remember they were unique. I am curious to see, I almost wish I remembered because I would be curious to see after a year of doing this what the tastes would be. Now, one thing that it might have going for it is it also uses ginger, and you like ginger.
Yeah. So I'm hoping we've got a net gain here because I love citrus, especially lemons, and I love ginger. So I'm thinking, it might cut down on some of that, but we'll see. So, I'm excited either way. I think it'll be a good sauce.
It'll be very interesting. Also, just as our tradition is, I need you to give me what place you would rather eat at than Subway. As is our tradition, where you mentioned that there are 50 plus places you'd rather go to than Subway. Subway's great. It has this great purpose, but I want to keep this tally going.
Totally fair. Let's go with some Cheddar Bay biscuits at Red Lobster.
Red Lobster? Okay. So
it's funny.
Red Lobster gets kind of a bad rap.
It does. So my wife makes a very good point. I enjoy Red Lobster. She enjoys the biscuits at Red Lobster. Mm-hmm. She's not a huge seafood person. And her argument is, if we're going to go spend that amount of money, let's go somewhere that just has, better, not flash frozen microwaved food, essentially.
Sure.
So I understand that. But there's something just like, I want salt, I want seafood, I want to go to Red Lobster, I want to eat as many biscuits as I can and hate myself, but it's kind of expensive. And she does have a point where it's like, you can either pay the same price for Red Lobster or you can pay the same price for a mom and pop restaurant, and you're probably going to get better food at that, So. Okay. But I'm going Red Lobster. All
right. And as is the other game that Mammoth had recommended to us, and we're going to continue to keep trying, I'm going to name a person.
This one's just degrading.
You're going to tell me if this is an NBA player or this is a hot sauce maker.
All right.
And some of these, I'm trying to find the pockets of, maybe there's pockets of basketball that you're like, oh, this is the genre, or this is a time where, you might know somebody from that. But for this week, I'm going with Dan Marley.
His brother was my math teacher, and his nephew was one of my good friends growing up. So he's a basketball player.
He is a basketball player.
Yes.
Primarily for the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. Okay. Yeah. I'm glad that it hit on some, not only am I glad that you're right.
Why did you come up with Dan Marley?
Because, so initially I had another one in my mind.
That's so weird. I
had another one in my mind.
With him, played T-ball with him.
And then I was like, let me go 80s. 80s, 90s. And then I'm like, I don't want to go main player. And then I'm like, let me go like pretty, he was a pretty big component of those Phoenix Suns teams, but he wasn't like the Michael Jordan or Magic Johnson level guy. So I was trying to go. I didn't want to go super obscure, but I wanted to go.
That's so funny.
So
yeah, he
also in I forget which video game it is, but there's one video game where he literally just shoots it from half court and just every time. It's one of those old school Nintendo ones though.
That's so funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so weird to think like it was a fairly common name growing up, just because it's like, oh, there's the Marleys,
Yeah.
But it's weird to picture like my friend it's not that we're not friends. We never had a falling out. It's just one of those things like we just kind of grew up and went our separate ways, in high school.
Sure.
But it's weird to think about like Ryan, who's just a really laid back, chill dude. His dad's or his uncle's in a video game. Like that's really.
I would feel bad
really
because
strange.
if I knew anyone that was a Marley, I'd be like, oh, you got to be good from three. Like, you got it. Like
he was good from three. He was
okay.
Ryan was a phenomenal basketball player.
Okay, that's the thing. It's like if you had a father who was Dan Marley, who's just like this outside shooter, and he did more than that, but the video game kind of made everyone think he was, this shooter from three. It'd be funny if it's just like, I beat a Marley at horse or around the world. It's like, what? It's like, yeah, like this guy. And so if there's anybody that has the last name Marley that's not related to him, don't show up at the Y.
That's hilarious.
Just be careful.
That's funny you went that way.
It was literally last minute because sometimes I prepare them. Sometimes I just off the top of my head because I have a lot of NBA players and I have a decent amount of sauce makers that I know.
I was just about to tell you, unless you're going to name one of the 5 Pistons from like 2004.
Yeah, I'm not going to go.
Or like the giant names.
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to know it, but then you throw out Dan Marley, which I feel like if you pay attention to basketball, you know who Dan Marley is. If you don't pay attention to basketball, you probably don't know who Dan Marley is.
If you have a decent, if you like, I kind of watch the sports a little bit, but like, you don't have to be super. We talked about on the last episode that just aired with Roddy, where I was insanely into the NBA when I was growing up. And I didn't mention when I did that. I mentioned like, hey, I watch games, play video games, had my almanac all around me at the same time. I was in my teens. Like, it's not.
I picture you dressed like.
It's not today. Not this week.
I picture you dressed like Marty McFly, walking around with your sports almanac.
I appreciate that because I love Marty McFly. Michael J. Fox, him and I have the same initials. I call him my initial twin because my initials are also MJF, and I use it because whenever you have to put your initials on something, I don't like just putting MF because the joke always happens. Initially,
mine's
I was
MLB, Major League Baseball. I never answered my calling.
Oh, that's cool.
I stopped in high school.
Sometimes when you're when you think about like when you're naming like a kid or whatever, you look at everything you're like, oh, can they make fun of this name? Like, what are they gonna do? And their kids are gonna make fun of names regardless. But then I also look at the initials. Yeah, and I did that with my grandparents. I was like, all right, my one grandpa's name was Sherwin, and I'm like, that's not a name I'm gonna pass down to my kids. It's just not. Yeah, it would be one of those where it's like, wow, what a unique way of bringing a name back. But then I was looking like, all right, well, let me try to have the same initials. So the initials is something that's always interesting. But we're gonna move on. We're gonna.
So take that.
Good job.
Not as degrading as I thought it was going to be today.
No, see, it's not meant. It's meant for an educational experience and also just for me to gauge. So now, the longer we do this, the more that I'm going to understand what NBA to talk to you about and what NBA to inform you about. Yeah. There's two different ways. There's two different things.
I have like very weird pocket knowledge sometimes of the NBA.
One other thing, because I was listening to a podcast doing research for one that we're doing another podcast recording tonight. We have in 30 or 24 hours, we're hitting it hard. But I had a podcast that made me feel old because they referenced, do you remember Steve from Blue's Clues when he came back and did the little video saying, hey, how you doing? Like, I've been gone. And everyone was very emotionally
wrecked. Adults cry.
Yeah, like emotionally wrecked, but somehow also healed. So this one guy, he was away from his podcast for like 6 months. He had a kid and he had a little 4-minute video recap. And then he was just like, he referenced that. He's like, hey, I'm doing fine. Just I have the kid doing this. It's like, this is kind of like the Steve from Blue's Clues, like, and everyone knows, like, that was really emotional for anybody that was in. And I'm thinking in my head, like, I remember that. Like, yeah, it was terrible.
Right.
Like, I remember that, and it affected me because I knew Steve from Blue's Clues when I was younger. And he's like, anyone that's like 28 to 32. And I'm like, he aged me out by 5 years. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Like, wait, was I in high school watching Blue's Clues?
That could be. Then that's sort of the question, that the unraveling of like,
Yeah.
when was I watching Blue's Clues?
Yeah.
And was I just like watching it peripherally and not like sitting there? Because in my head, I'm sitting there like a kid, but
Yeah.
maybe I just fabricated that to excuse myself from watching it.
That's so funny. I was in the Blue's Clues wheelhouse era. So
Yeah.
if you ask me to name the planets, I'm not going to do it because I don't sing in public or on a podcast.
We're public adjacent.
The only way I could name the planets in order is if I sing the tune of that song that Blue's Clues taught me in my head.
Yeah.
We'll have to play a clip of that.
Yeah. We'll find it.
But it's just a little jingle they came up with, and that's, to this day, how I know the order of the planets.
Yeah.
Earth's home to me.
Interesting.
And I know, how and when to get the mail because of that song. But
For sure. All right. So let's get started. Let's crack open a mail time. Also, I always looked at that notebook and I'm like, that crayon's way too big to draw anything really well. Because I like to draw when I was a kid, and I'm like, you need a thinner crayon than that. Like, such basic drawings. But so I was probably older if I'm critiquing it at that level. All right. Let's open up the lemon drop. So I did talk to the owners again, are Deja and Karsten Hart, Chef Deja. This was from episode 6 this year that we tried their Deja Vu sauce. That was that A1 steak type of sauce that didn't last. It's gone.
I have a question.
Yeah.
And you might have to cut this out because this might be embarrassing. Is it proper to preface someone's name if they're a chef with Chef
I don't
Deja?
know.
Like, is that saying like doctor?
So I don't think it's as critical, but it's something where if someone has the label chef, in everything that I was reading, a lot of it had Chef Deja Hart. I think it's just respectful to do it that way.
Okay, I'm all for it. I just don't know if I've been doing it wrong.
Well, because there was a video,
Gordon Ramsay.
There was a reel I watched that explained like the difference between chef and not, and there was also, I've seen clips of different shows like The Bear and stuff where someone explains that, hey, even though you guys aren't culinary trained, I call you chef as a sign of respect to, so there's informal and formal ways to use it, I feel like.
Okay.
That's a good question for maybe Sam, because he would also be considered a chef.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it's just really interesting because there are things that as a chef you have to go through to gain certain statuses.
Yeah. Like
Chef Gordon Ramsay, they always just say that. It's just his name. But
he tells me just call him by Gordon.
Yeah, he calls I call him Chef Ram. Chef Ramrod. Yeah.
Chef Ramrod.
We're tight. So he, ever since I made that risotto just right, he's like, you're my friend now. It's like perfect risotto. It was microwaved. All right. So we're going to open up the lemon drop. I did talk to them on Instagram, just let them know we're going to try it. I asked them just to give me any notes if there's anything you want to mention. So what they mentioned, and I'm going to read what they said for both sauces and we'll get into this. Both sauces are citrus forward, but different flavor profiles. Lemon Drop has a ton of ginger, turmeric, and fresh vegetables, great on lobster rolls, tuna salad with crackers. Citra is very unique and definitely has the habanero notes from the fermented orange habaneros. But the Citra hops takes it to a new level, adding some savory notes, pineapple, all the great funkiness from the hops. We use it on raw oysters and fried seafood. So what they use it on is right up your alley.
Yes.
Like, these are breakfast oysters waiting to happen.
I also didn't pick Red Lobster this morning because of the seafood.
Everything's Dan Marley was a great pick by me. Red Lobster, great pick by you. Everything's tying in today. Sometimes you feel like, that episode could have been better. We're off to a great start.
There's one other one.
And I jinxed it.
There's one big connection that I wanted to bring up, but I don't feel it's appropriate to do on a podcast. So I'll tell you after. But there was one other big one where I'm like, no way, I cannot believe that. But it's a little too personal for someone else. It's not my business to say it out loud.
That's a great teaser for no payoff.
Yeah.
All right, let's open this bottle. Short. Stop. It broke. All right. So this is a very thin sauce. The lemon drop, it has...
Was that the one with like the, you could see the little drops of oil in there?
Yeah, so it kind of had settled a bit, so you got to shake it up, which happens with the all-natural sauces. I'm trying to think what the red specs on there, but I'm not going to worry about it. So again, the ingredient list: distilled white vinegar, AJI, ahi lemon.
I think it's ahi lemon.
Ahi lemon drop pepper, which lemon drop pepper I've never heard of, so that makes more sense why it's lemon drop, because I just thought, oh, it's based off the shot. Yellow onion, carrot, pineapple juice, salt, garlic, lemon juice, ginger, lime juice, coriander, and turmeric. So this is one I did ask her if she's ever tried it with Greek food, because I do a lot of lemon-based dressings with like chicken and feta and tomato and cucumber and red onion. Mm-hmm. So I'm very curious to try that with this after we give it a spin. Ooh, that was a good one. It does have the stopper because it is a much waterier sauce. Very yellow. It has like a bit of orange, but mostly a yellow look to it. Yeah, not a whole lot of extra, very thin sauce. I'm not getting as much lemon when I smell it as much as I get like the peppers and the garlic and the onion. Yeah,
I get a lot of vegetable smells.
This is very much could be a dressing enhancement because of how thin it is. It would go really good in like a vinaigrette. Let's give it a try. So the lemon's not in the immediate. The lemon's kind of in the middle on that first taste that I have. And with the fermented, it almost has a briny flavor to it.
That's going in a lot of dishes.
So going in a lot of dishes or even marinating a lot of dishes.
Yes.
So
just like on chicken.
Yeah, I used the funky garlic from Sam Sauce. I used that to marinate chicken, and it was really a really good flavor. I would almost marinate the chicken I'm doing for my Greek bowl with this.
Yeah, that's really good.
That's a very good sauce. It has a good heat, even though it's listed as a 2 out of 5 on the heat scale.
Eat it again or drink it again, whatever. Sample it again. I don't know if we
chug it again. Drink.
Yeah, I get the lemon right away on the second round.
And it's one of those early morning things we've noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dang. That's unique. I like that. That's so, going on a lot of different things.
I remember when we went to the Boston show, my dad wasn't super impressed with that. And I don't remember enough about it. Mm-hmm. And now I'm just like, I almost want to be like, Dad, you got to try it again.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to waste it because it is a thinner sauce. Also, it's batch number 473.
So we always do avocado, cherry tomato, red onion in beets mixed together in a salad. And we usually hit it with olive oil and lemon juice. That is replacing not all the lemon juice, but a good amount of that is going in.
It gives it a more layered, dynamic lemon flavor with that heat that you want to bring to a dish.
We're on fish.
I just had baked fish. I'm actually going to post a sandwich I made on Instagram later today or tomorrow. But I did a couple different fish, but Friday we're going to do fish again, so this would be a good one to that. Or do, like they said, do some type of other seafood. Do oysters or...
Oysters, ooh. We have to do a breakfast episode. Actually, do I swing by this afternoon before we go for round 2 and grab some oysters?
I mean, we could. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how it is on my diet, but it can't be bad for you. It's oysters.
Yeah, it's not much to them.
This one is a surprising one. You may be kind of worried about the lemon, just trying to think of what it is, because when you see lemon drop, my head goes to that shot, which I did a lot of those one night. And
one night, I thought you were going to say, like, I did a lot of those in, like, my late 20s.
I was going to say my 20s, but there was one night, and I'm not going to go into all the details, but one of the things that happens when I used to drink, I have a lot of bad drinking stories. You kind of hit your 20s and you move out and you move in with 2 bartenders, and it's a bad recipe. But actually, they moved in with
guinea
me.
Pig.
But the problem that I had one night is I can be very generous, and it's a detriment to my bank account when I'm drinking, where I kept going to the bar, forgetting what I wanted to order, so I just kept ordering lemon drop shots because it was just in my head, coming back with lemon drop shots and bringing a bunch of people back to the table because I'm just like, hey, we're going to do lemon drop here. Come with. So I, kept meeting people, bringing them back. It was just...
Matt the giver.
My coat is still at that bar. After I closed my tab, which was insane, and this was like a decade ago, after I closed my tab, and then we left, and they're like, hey, you left your coat there. And I'm like, I don't deserve my coat. I spent too much money.
That's funny.
So I went coatless.
Right now, there's someone telling a story of, do you remember that random dude at the bar that would not stop buying us lemon drops?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sure that's...
You're someone's repeat story.
When my group of friends get together and talk about all the bad or over-the-top drinking stories, I dominate that, and it's not good. That's why Angela has either rarely or never seen me fully, like, real drunk. But also, once you're in your 30s and you have some kids, it's like the opportunities to get really drunk,
Yeah.
they fall by the wayside. They're still out there, but then there's more of, you're at least mature enough to know, hey, if I go this far, it's going to be a tough day tomorrow, and we're going pumpkin patch picking and walking this and doing that and, you know, all the stuff. Yeah, this is a fantastic sauce. I'm not really getting the ginger. I'm getting a lot of the lemon, a little bit of the pineapple.
I'm getting a little ginger.
Like lemon and lime juice. It has a little bit of saltiness to it, which is good because with what you're using it for,
Yeah.
that makes perfect sense. All right, I'm going to get into my fact on this while we're doing the scores. So I don't think you're going to guess where I went on this.
Lemons.
Yeah. So then there's a lot of lemon facts, and I feel like I've done a lemon fact before for something else.
I feel like we've hit on a handful in the past.
Yeah, but the thing that I found interesting, well, I found two things interesting, but I'm going to just do one. So there's abundance of lemon trees in California. Do you know why that is?
Because the climate is good for them?
That could be too. But it dates back to the demand for lemons in the California Gold Rush days because the lemons combat scurvy.
Interesting.
And so the miners were willing to pay lots of money for a single lemon. They'd rather have the gold. Or they said they'd rather have the gold, I think. This is the facts I pulled this from very much put their own input on it. But they would pay a lot of money for a single lemon. And so, you know, they would be like digging for gold and they'd have scurvy and this would be the way. So that they started growing lemons in that area because they're such in high demand.
That's awesome. I did not know that. I love gold mining. I think that's a cool thing. I love the show Gold Rush. I love the history of gold mining, which I was unaware of that.
There you go. Scurvy. You got it?
Thought that was just pirates.
You got it? Eat a lemon. Get some lemon drop sauce. That's not the best slogan for the lemon drop red sauce, but like,
got scurvy by the sauce.
By Reds. It's like, you don't have to have scurvy for that. Also, I like the splatter. The bottle art is just like the splatter drop of...
Just a drop of lemon.
Drop of lemon, drop of yellow. It reminds me of the Spill the Sauce podcast has a new logo on theirs, which is looks like a coffee ring. Or like, it's basically if you spilled coffee and then set your mug on it.
Yeah.
It's got like that ring with a little bit of a splash. And
Okay.
I'm like, those are things where I'm like, that is such a simple design.
Mm-hmm.
I would have never thought of.
A couple different directions you could go with this. So now whenever I think of lemons, I will always think of Sorrento. That was where we went on our honeymoon. And it is a city that is built on lemons. Everything about that city, the artwork, the colors, the food, the culture there literally revolves around lemons. What I found extremely interesting for a culture that is literally built on lemons.
Mm-hmm.
They are not native to the region, and lemons were brought to the Sorrento region of Italy on the Silk Road by Jewish immigrants. Let's see, it was in the 1st century AD.
Does it say where lemons officially originated from? Like they were brought over by that, but does it say where they originated from? Because
I do not have that information. I can find it. I'm sure it'd be easy. But
when I was looking at my facts, one thing that they said is no one knows where they originated from.
Really?
So I was just curious if that was just one state that's like, yeah, we don't know. And then you're like, it says right here.
Yeah.
But no one
right
knows the origin of the lemon.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But that is
And we use it all the time.
Yeah. So that's the second fruit that Italians literally built their culture on that's not native to the region. So do you remember what the other one was? It was one of my facts in like one of the first episodes.
Oh, man. Roma tomatoes?
Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tomatoes are native to, like, what is it, South and Central America?
Hmm.
But if you think of Italy, What do you think of? Like, if you think of food, you think of tomatoes, I would say number one.
Yeah.
And then lemon is also in there as well. So, like,
Lemon
even
is used very
limoncello.
much.
Do you like limoncello?
I like limoncello. Angela's family, it's a traditional thing with them. They have limoncello specific shot glasses their grandpa had.
Yeah, the real tall, skinny ones.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have those. They did limoncello at their last family function. They made a limoncello tiramisu at their last family cooking event that I have not been able to attend.
Yeah.
It's a family, like her brothers and sisters and cousins, and it's like they're cooking their dishes.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a limoncello tiramisu. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
I've never had anything other than traditional tiramisu, like, coffee.
Mm-hmm.
But that was...
I like limoncello. Courtney did not like it. But it's funny. So, like, if you...
Or even a chicken parm, they'll do a spritz of lemon over their chicken parm.
Yeah.
That citrus, like a little bit of that really kind of cuts, which makes me curious where this is a lemon drop, has the lemon drop or the stopper, where it's like you don't need a whole lot, probably on those oysters to really get that flavor.
Yeah. Another thing I thought was pretty neat. So in the region, they have like two main different types of lemons. They have like a smaller one that you would be familiar with. Then they have lemons that are literally the size of melons. Like it's the size of maybe a volleyball.
Okay.
You can eat the whole thing, rind and all.
Really?
Yeah. So like if you went to the grocery store right now, you bought a lemon, you ate the rind, it would be bitter, nasty, chewy, gross. These bigger ones, you can eat the entire lemon. You could, like, people peel lemons there and eat them like oranges. Like they're that good. They're that tame, but they're still flavorful. At the end of the day, once you've eaten lemons all day, your teeth feel like they're hooked up to a 9-volt battery from all the acid. But
yeah, that's a lot.
Everything there's lemon.
That's crazy. And so I'm assuming like the pith? That's the space between the skin and the juice. Is that what it's called? I'm assuming that's just very thin then, because that's really the big deterrent. I mean, you can eat lemon peel.
No, it's really thick. It's like thicker than what you'd get at the store. It's just really, it's edible. Not to say that the one at the store isn't edible, but it's very bitter. Yeah. When you eat it there, it's sweet,
That's interesting.
So yeah, that forever changed my perspective on lemons. So now we always have literally a pile of lemons at the house. Lemon pasta, a lot of people like their fallback is like, I don't want to cook dinner. I'll do like butter noodles.
Yeah.
Lemon pasta is the way to go.
Yeah, if you do if you do some butter and just a little bit of lemon, and if you have, maybe some fresh herb, that's really all you need. I said all you need is this, and I kept adding 2 more, but I also want to add just a little bit of parm. I just want to be like, if you just add a little bit of this, and then you do a little parm, and you do a little tomato, little basil, little bit, it's just like, that's a spaghetti sauce.
Yeah. But real quick about the limoncello. So what is it called? Like an after dinner digestive?
Mm-hmm. Digestive.
Okay.
Sorry. That's what I've heard it's said as. I don't know if that's just being fancy.
Yeah. Like you can go anywhere there. Like you go to any restaurant, whether it's a high-end restaurant, whether it's a little mom and pop, whatever. Once you're done, there's just a free limoncello shot on the house. It's just complimentary. It's like handing out bread before a meal. It's like you don't really pay for the bread. It's
like just saying goodbye. It's just part of the formal ending of the yeah. That's fantastic. It's just funny when I'm like some facts. I'm like, there's not gonna be a whole lot for this. There's not gonna be a whole lot for that. And I'm like, there's a lot for this one.
Oh, I had to put the brakes on because I started to get into Mount Vesuvius and Pompeii because of lemons. That's a whole nother thing in itself. Yeah, that would be a lot. That'd be a lot to deal with. I also, interesting, I've been catching up on Cast Iron Kyle's podcast, and it's really interesting. There's a lot of information about both the history of cast iron. I feel like the history of cast iron, you would eat that part of the episode up, like burn through it. But the other thing was he talked about what not to put in cast iron. He's like, because he's pro cast iron as much as you can be. That's what I was going to ask him. Lemon. Really? Citrus. The acidic. Yeah. Citrus, vinegar, like those acids is what to avoid, which I could have sworn that I've seen where someone will put like a half lemon in a pan. But he did say if you're going to do that, there's cast iron with a thin layer of enamel that you can get from a lot of the more modern cast iron places. I have one, yeah. And he's like, those are... a Le Creuset, and it's got a very thin... I looked up how much those things are. Those things are insanely expensive. The Le Creusets? Yeah, but they're worth it. It was a wedding present. Yeah, I was going to say, that's... I don't have it in me to spend money on something like that, but if someone's willing to buy it for me... And here's the thing. If they're obligated to buy it for me for a wedding present, I'm like, okay. That Le Creuset is... You're going to spend that
a large amount of money, but it will be...
You'll have it for life.
You'll have it for life. And he even mentioned, because he bought a Staub Le Creuset, because that's the type of dish. That's not the brand, right?
The brand is Le Creuset.
Okay. There was a Staub one that was like a Dutch oven, cast iron enamel, similar to that, or similar to the Le Creuset, and the handle broke, and they discontinued that before.
Oh, really?
So he wrote them a letter. He didn't even write who he was. He wrote them a letter saying, I love this product. I use it all the time. This handle broke. Is there any way for you just to repair the handle for me? And then he sent it to them, and they sent him a brand new, updated, what their newest one was.
Yeah.
For free.
That's awesome.
But also I'm like, if you're spending like a couple $100, if not like $600-700, they're probably like, yeah, you kind of get a lifetime, or at least you get one customer service replacement, you know. And he said he didn't mention who he was on Instagram because he's got 20,000+ followers and all that. He didn't do any of that. You know who I am.
Yeah.
But
you kind of hit on a little bit as far as like the expensive things. Courtney and I both grew up in households where it's like, just buy cheap cookware and just replace it with a new one. Yeah. Courtney and I purchased expensive stuff, and like we did the math on it. We have it's all clad copper core stuff. Okay. We've had it for quite some time now. But we did the math on it, and it's already paid for itself and what we would have paid to replace with cheap pots and pans. And they come with a lifetime warranty on them. So it's like, if you can do it, definitely front the money. Like we bought it in college on Black Friday. It was like half off for a very nice set. When you do it, you're like, that was a very irresponsible decision. And now the fact that we'll probably never have to pay for pots and pans again, it's pretty comforting now that I'm an adult.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's like somebody had a similar situation where they're like, someone that's well off can buy a high-end, expensive pair of boots, and those boots are going to last them for 3 years. Someone who doesn't have the money will buy a pair of boots that will last them a season. Yeah. And by the time they get to year 3, when you have to get new boots, they've spent more money than you on boots. Right. But it's something where you have to be financially able to do that. Yeah. So that is interesting. One of the tie-ins with Cast Iron Kyle and Reds was at the Boston Hot Sauce Festival last year. That's where I got this sauce. Is where we tried it. She will be at the Boston Hot Sauce Festival this year as well, which is being one of the judges or the main judge is Cast Iron Kyle for the Boston Hot Sauce Festival. Nice. So I believe this episode will come out before that. We're a handful of episodes ahead, so we're actually recording tonight with Cast Iron Kyle to talk Boston Hot Sauce Fest, which will technically air before this one because we want to get the word out on that. But yeah, so this is a really good sauce. I keep leaning into the Greek element just because that's where I use lemon the most. It would be interesting to use it in more of a Italian spin on it, or even the seafood. I keep wanting to just get a whole batch of like scallops, because that's one seafood that Angela does enjoy. She's not a big shrimp person. She's not a big crab or lobster person. Texture for her? It's scallops. Pretty much texture. Yeah. Which again, I think I've said this story before, but I found out that I made Angela, like one of the first things I made for her when we were dating, I had her at the house. I made like a chili spiced shrimp tacos with a homemade salsa verde, like tomatillo with an avocado to make it kind of a creamy sauce. And she's like, oh, this is fantastic. Found out months later, I don't like shrimp. And I'm like, you could have told me. I could have made like a chili rub steak. Yeah. I thought it was being like, hey, it's good, but it's healthy. And right. That's so funny. All right. So let's get into the score on this. So the heat on this, I would put this at a pretty solid 2. There is a presence of heat. The heat with the vinegar, and it doesn't overpower. I'm not sweating off of this one, but it's just a good sauce. Yeah, it is really good. You know what I just thought of? So when we bought that all-clad pot and pan set, the reason we did it, so I had just recently proposed to her, and we were looking to buy the actual wedding band. Yeah. She's like, you know what? I'm going to get a really cheap wedding band because I would rather have those pots and pans than a nice wedding band. So we took the wedding band money and we put it towards pots and pans. That's smart. So that's a very sentimental piece of cooking equipment to us. Yeah. That's literally basically I feel like jewelry. That's old school. It's like go back to the 1800s. You're like, you know what? I will take your daughter if, I can
give you these pots and pans.
Here's the thing. I use primarily 2 pans in my house. I use my cast iron skillet, and I use my stainless steel pan that I got.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of non-stick that I got when I first moved into my first house, and I would use it, but we have a glass top stove, and all of them, except for maybe one, are warped on the bottom.
Yeah,
and
so
they
tilt.
teeter. And so I literally am like heating one side of, other than a couple of the pots that I can use to boil water that are still flat.
Yeah.
There's a handful of them where I'm like, I should just throw these out and just get, like, we have Angela has one good pot for making like her Italian soup. She loads it up to the brim with water and stuff and just cooks everything down. We have that big pot. We have a cast iron. We have stainless steel. We have a hodgepodge. We don't have like a set.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, all right. So let's, something I also thought about this with lemon. I would be curious, and I don't know how it would go, but I feel pretty positive that it would do well. I'd be curious to just toss a little bit of this in chicken wings. Do a fried chicken wing with a little lemon.
Yeah.
Because there's lemon pepper, there's lemon, or you could do this and throw that black pepper in there, fresh cracked black pepper.
Mm.
That'd be a really good wing, a very different wing. You wouldn't have to use a lot.
No,
because it would coat well. I did on the bottle here. It does have some other suggestions. It says bright and citrusy flavor of the lemon drop paired with just a hint of turmeric and ginger makes this sauce truly one of a kind. Tastes great on chicken, fish, shellfish, sweet potatoes, cauliflower, roasted root vegetables, stir fry, and more. Yeah, the vegetables, I totally see that. The sweet potato is an interesting one. I'd be down to try that. But sweet potato,
it's interesting they specifically called out sweet potato.
Sweet potato has this weird thing where, like, my sister does a baked sweet potato with a stone ground mustard. She'll put a little bit of that in there, mix it up, and that's what she'll eat.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's not a whole lot of other vegetables where I'm like, just throw a little bit of stone ground mustard, we're good to go.
Yeah.
So sweet potato is a unique.
I'm glad you went that direction
vehicle.
and not. She covers it in brown sugar and marshmallows.
Well, that's when she's ready for dessert. She has her dinner. She cuts it in half. She has an entree sweet potato half and a dessert sweet potato half.
No.
One she covers with stone ground mustard. The other she treats like a s'more.
It's so gross.
So gross. That's also happening in so many households across America.
I know. It's terrible.
I want to see the first. Like, it wouldn't have been the first Thanksgiving. Obviously, the first Thanksgiving isn't what the cartoons show when you're at school. But early on, if someone's like, hey, we invented this goo, it's like marshmallow fluff. Let's put it on our potatoes. And like, Carl, get off the peyote, get back in the kitchen, do something else.
He leaves there with a chip on his shoulder. He's like, I'll show them one day.
Yeah. One day they'll be using this everywhere, and they'll be calling it a side dish, not a dessert. All right. So yeah, the heat on this is a 2. It's got a good presence of heat, but it's not something you're reacting a lot to. You're not sweating or anything like that. Our heat scale is out of 100. So from our 100-point scale, 75 and above is something we'd have year round in our kitchen. 50 to 75 is still a recommend to buy. 25 to 50 is something that's solid. It's not something that we're, gushing over, but it's something that's still a solid sauce, something that we typically talk about like grocery store sauces. And 25 and below is not for us, maybe for you. And so this is a tough one because it's such a unique sauce. It's so surprising because I was a little bit hesitant on, like, we're just going to have like a lemon shot here.
Yeah.
But I had this one as a 78.
I had 79.
Yeah. Wow. That's,
yeah.
I always
we do not look at each other's scores.
It's crazy.
It at all.
We write them down. I write in chicken scratch that no one's going to be able to read. And also there's stains all over this one from Roddy's episode where I kept spilling salsa verde. But it is crazy how close we are on these, where there's some variation still. And we still have some where we've had ones that we're 10 points apart on because some of it's about taste. And this next one will be interesting how we go with this one. But it's just, when there's a sauce that's very unique that you can tell is done well, even if it's something that you wouldn't have thought of, it's like, it's just a solid sauce. And I'm very excited to try this in like Greek dishes and stuff. Mm-hmm. So, all right, let's turn the page into Rhed's Citra hop sauce. So let's go through the ingredients list here. So this one has vinegar, habanero pepper, onion, carrot, pineapple juice, salt, garlic, Citra hops, lemon juice, lime juice, ginger, coriander, turmeric. So it has some very similar notes to the other sauce, but then has obviously some big turns. So this one, everything you love about habaneros brewed with fresh veggies, spices, and finish with Citra hops for a truly unique hot sauce experience. Tastes great on tacos, wraps, BLTs, pork chops, and raw oysters. Spice up Bloody Marys and other cocktails, or mix your favorite mustard to create a spicy condiment. Man, there's some really crazy ideas on this that I like. Add this sauce to any dish for a citrus habanero finish. So they said add it for a citrus habanero finish. They don't even talk about the hops on that element.
Yeah. Something tells me the sauce is going to be pretty hot.
Yeah.
I feel like if they labeled the lemon drop a 2.
My son just ran away screaming from it.
I don't know. I just have a feeling this one might be kind of hot.
Okay. That was the biggest fail of any peel that I've ever... And then it had a redemption arc. This is another thinner sauce. This one definitely has more orange look to it. I also like the artwork on this one. It's got the...
I'm going to ask you an extremely easy question. What direction do you think I went?
You went frogs.
Yes.
Okay. I did not, because I was like, if he doesn't go frogs, he's still going to talk about frogs. All right, let me see about this opening the bottle. That's
Good one.
Not bad. I could hear like the tss a little bit.
Ooh, it smells really good.
The fermented sauces that has a little bit extra, there's a little bit extra to it when you open that bottle.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like some of the other ones where it's like, it's very straightforward, you know, non-fermented. And all of their sauces on this, I believe all of their collection is fermented. They did mention that they have some new things coming out this year. I don't know when, if it'll be close to the Boston Hot Sauce Fest or what, but there are some new sauces that they're working on. So we'll have to keep an eye out for those.
So I do get hops when I smell that, but it's a very friendly, clean, like bright smell to it.
What's, of like craft beer, what's kind of like your go-to if you're going to have a craft beer?
I don't know if I have an actual specific one. So if I'm going to drink a craft beer, I enjoy like a thick porter.
Yeah.
Like something that's pretty much peanut butter.
What's the, I had a phase where I was really into Two Hearted.
Yeah. I can choke one of those down.
So we had a bachelor party in Chicago where, you ever done Whirly Ball in Chicago?
Oh, is that the,
it's like bumper cars. It's bumper cars with lacrosse sticks and basketball hoops with a hole.
Yeah, I played it before and I still can't figure out how no one's hand gets absolutely smashed playing that game.
It's a super fun game. There's a couple locations in Chicago. They were always sold out.
Yeah.
Like you had to reserve your spot. We got a spot for my friend's bachelor party and they got pitchers of beer, but they got pitchers of Two Hearted. So we were drinking Two Hearted all night. And the problem is you play and they're like, all right, 15-minute break. You go, you pour yourself a beer, and you're like, we got to go play again. You chug what you had left. So we were literally chugging Two Hearted. It is not a chugging beer. It's not recommended to do that.
That's
that's what I think of. And that's kind of where it's starting to fade out, where I'm like, I don't want to do Two Hearted. I'm still at my cap.
Yeah. I like did you ever try the Lighthearted?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's just like their lighter version of it. It's
the other beer thing that I was always a fan of was the Newcastle Brown Ale.
Okay.
I was in a big Newcastle phase when I was younger, where then my brother-in-law, he's a big beer guy. He's made his own beer. He knows the ins and outs of it. I was like, I ordered the Newcastle for something, and it was like a hot summer day, and he's like, a brown ale?
Yeah.
On like this day? And I'm like, I love Newcastle.
That's funny. I have the same relationship. My brother-in-law is huge into it, and it's usually like, give me something that either tastes as close to Bud Light as you got.
Yeah.
Or I will take essentially a jar of peanut butter or a can of peanut butter.
Yeah. Something to chew. All right. Let's give this sauce a try.
I really like that.
So the hops are there.
Yes.
So the hops are not hiding.
But they're not bitter.
But they're not bitter.
That's really good. That was a very pleasant surprise.
I'm trying to follow the path on this one because I'm like, oh, there's the hops. And then like,
it immediately goes to
there's
citrus.
Like 2 or 3 buddies of ingredients carrying it away where I'm like, well, the hops was right there.
Where'd it go?
Huh.
That's really good.
Okay. So here's the other thing that I'll say with trying the sauce at the Boston Hot Sauce Festival. So I tried one taste of each.
Yeah.
We talked about with the first try of the lemon drop. Hey, try it with 1 spoonful. Mm-hmm. Hey, try it again. It's going to taste different.
Yeah.
You almost need to do multiple takes if you're going to do a spoon taste test.
Yeah.
because that's one of those where if you tried a sauce, be like, yeah, I tried it at the show. I didn't like it. It's like, did you have one spoonful? Did you have 2 tastes of it? Did you go back? Like, there's so much in these sauces where it's not like, I'll pick on a different generic hot sauce. It's not like a Tabasco where it's like, Tabasco is what Tabasco is. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be like, hey, 3rd or 4th spoonful, I'm getting a hint of carrot. Like, that's not happening.
Mostly because there's not carrot in it, but. Yeah.
That's the Pilgrim where they're like, get off the peyote, get back in the kitchen. So.
I really like that. That is, I don't want to say I was intimidated by it, but I went into it thinking, I'm probably not going to care for this
You
too
were
much.
preparing for how you were going to maneuver around, hey, here's the score I gave, but I don't like hops, so this is why.
Yeah.
There are sauces that we've seen where it's like, hey, this has this ingredient, and we're like, oh, that's a quirky, unique thing. But then you try and you're like, did they really put thought into adding that ingredient?
Yeah.
This is one where it's like,
well done.
Hops is there for a purpose. I mean, it would have been really disappointed.
That's going to go on oysters. So
it would have been really disappointed if the one with the frog on it that you really enjoyed, the labeling, was the one that you're like, I don't want that.
I know. I was very torn. It's like hops and frogs. One I don't like, one I really like. This, I would agree with the oyster statement on this one because I do enjoy beer when I'm drinking oysters.
Yeah.
I do enjoy beer when I'm eating oysters. I guess you kind of drink oysters.
You kind of slurp them.
Yeah.
It's a cross between.
This would go really good.
I think the pineapple juice is helping it.
Think so?
I think the pineapple and lemon juice, the citrus. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, you're good.
But you think this would really go good?
Like seafood with a beer.
I like the Bloody Mary idea too.
Yeah.
You have yourself a Bloody Mary and oysters. Put that on everything. It's like, here, have this bottle. Be like, oh, for the oysters? Like, whatever's on the table.
Yeah.
Like, well, we have BLT sliders, we have oysters, we have Bloody Mary. What do you want me to put it on? They're like, yeah.
Yeah.
Douse it. Pork chops. So I don't make a lot of pork. I recently made 2 different pork dishes.
I made pork chops last night.
And I realized that my skill set in making pork, and I have some excuses on why they didn't turn out as well. They tasted fine. They were a little bit dry because it just, you got to hit it at the right temp and you got to get it off the heat.
Yeah.
My problem was, one was like slow cooking and I had to go somewhere and I came back too late. One was a crock pot thing that said, hey, it'll take 5 hours. Didn't take 5 hours and it was already, if it was a different cut of meat, it would have been a shredded pulled pork situation.
Yeah.
But it was a lean cut. But this is something where I'll have to try doing a pork chop again, doing it right, making sure I don't have something that's going to take me away from the house, because it's not, unless I have, you ever seen those meat thermometers or like ovens that you can control remotely where it's like, oh, it's done, turn that off, change that setting.
Yeah, yeah.
If it was that, I would have been fine. But I have a meat thermometer that has the range of the Wi-Fi in the house, but once I leave, the alarm goes off like there's a fire.
Right.
The hops are in the immediate, a little bit of the aftertaste, but with the vinegar, and like the hops and the vinegar almost makes it a little bit like after you've had an olive or a pickle, a little bit of the briny aftertaste to it, which I enjoy. Every time I go to my parents, they have the famous Dave's spicy pickles, the jar.
Yeah.
Every time I go over there, because pickles are also good for like cramping. Well, like after you do a workout, they say just drink some pickle juice if you need to get that in your system. Mm-hmm. And also, another point of pride for my youngest, she ate like 5 of the spicy pickles. My oldest had 1 and was upset with me that I lied to her when I said they're not that spicy. So my youngest is kind of... And not only did she eat them, she licked them first. So she's getting all that vinegar and brine first, then going, yep, and then eat it. Yeah, the vinegar, I think, helps on the back end of it.
I would say this has been the biggest surprise I've had on a podcast.
One of the things that we don't really talk about it because typically we're trying sauces that we're very confident that these are going to be good. There's very few sauces that we've gone into saying, we don't know. We've had a few like smaller market sauces where like, this is going to be kind of a shot in the dark. Let's see what we do. And we always want to be positive, even when we don't, even in the scale, 25 or below, not for us, maybe for you. I don't ever want to say a sauce is just a bad sauce and no one should ever try it unless it's something that can get you sick or has some type of something wrong with it that way.
Puffer fish.
Yeah. Someone's using puffer fish hot sauce. Puff, puff, pass. I don't know why I said that. Anyway, so other than that, like it's always something we want to find the positive in things in the sauces that we try, where we can use it, what it does well. But we haven't really run into that. But this is one where the ingredient did scare both of us, really. This is going to be one where you got to think about the sauce if you like hops, but if you are afraid of this sauce because you don't like hops, you don't have to have that worry to try it. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're very sensitive where it's like a hint of hops and you're like, this is terrible, your mind might already be made up. But if you're like, keep the hops low, this is definitely a low hops sauce, but the flavor is there. And this is just having it by the spoonful. Having it in a dish, it's only going to blend it and neutralize that, not in a way where it's muted, but where it melds with the other stuff that you're eating, where it'll help carry the flavor.
So they recommend the adding it to the mustard.
Yeah.
I would add this to mayo to make kind of a citrusy aioli and then throw it on a burger.
Yeah, burger or BLT. We have some bacon. I'm going to make some BLTs tonight. I'm going to have to use this.
That's exciting sauce.
That
would make me like feel happy.
What a surprising sauce. Like even when I smelled it, I'm like, oh, it smells good.
Yeah.
Like,
it was like fresh. I would say the only thing I disagree on in this one, the score of 4.
For heat?
For heat.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess maybe
I feel like it's hotter than that. I feel like it's in the bottom of the 3 scale for us. Like when we talk about
I thought it was very comparable to lemon drop.
Well, that one's lingering more, and maybe it's just because we keep eating the sauces. But like for me, heat, 0's, nothing's present. 1 is there's a presence, but there's no reaction. 2 is a lingering heat. And then 3 is where like you're starting to sweat or nose run or getting a little bit. And I feel I'm on the edge of that. So like high 2, low 3, this is more middle 2.
Okay.
That's what I'm kind of at. But our scale also exponentially grows. Like the scale from 3 to 4 for us is like, yeah, I'm starting to react. I'm getting nose run, I'm getting a little sweaty, to this is good, but it hurts.
Yeah.
So like our scale, we have a lot of 2s and 3s. Mm-hmm. For us, the heat, it's more, is it up front on the immediate? Is it on the back end? What it might be.
Yeah.
So I'm going to score this one. This is, such a surprising.
So I will do my fact first if you're ready for it.
Yeah, you can go ahead with yours.
All right.
Almost forgot about the facts.
So the cover art of this bottle of hot sauce is a red-eyed tree frog. Mm-hmm. Freaking awesome frogs. I don't know if like you've ever had one as a pet. My brother had one. You see them in the pet stores all the time. Unfortunately, they're nocturnal, so they just kind of hang out and they look like a little green blob. But when they're out and moving around, they're like the coolest thing. That like the bright orange feet, the giant red eyes, the blue sides, like just bright green back. They're just awesome. They're super neat. So what is, just looking at this picture, like what's something that you notice like proportionately about the red-eyed tree frog?
Proportionally about the red-eyed tree frog?
Yeah, is there something that stands out where you're like,
it's belly.
It's belly.
It's got big eyes.
Big eyes.
Yeah.
So, and this is fairly common with most frogs.
Could do some crunches.
Yeah. He's got abs, yeah. Most frogs have bigger eyes, but what I think is really neat, because if you look at it, it's a very frail, thin, lean frog. Like you look at it, and like a healthy one almost kind of looks malnourished. They're just very lean.
Okay.
But what they do with their eyes when they eat is they will blink, and that pushes their eyes down into their head, and their eyeballs are actually forcing the food down their throat. So if you watch a green or a red-eyed tree frog eat, their eyes, they close, their eyes go down into their head, and what that's doing is just, it's ramrodding food down their throat. So they're notorious for being extremely fast eaters because of that.
Second call out to Ramrod. It's crazy to think about, like when you swallow and the muscles in your throat and it's pushing the food down and all that. But then if like your eyes became involved in that situation.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Just imagine talking to someone and be like, yep, hold on, and then swallow and like their eyes disappear.
Yeah.
Ugh. That would be a sci-fi thing where it's like, hey, this is an alien race that's part tree frog. And so like when they, like, how do you tell what they are? I'm like, you got to get them to swallow something and their eyes sink back. That's
terrifying. That's the making of a horror movie.
That would be such a good sci-fi element. That's not the basis for a whole movie. That's how you get Sharknado, when you have one idea and you try to go with it.
Oh gosh.
But
my sister-in-law, who actually she just got her first tattoo, and it actually is a red-eyed tree frog.
I thought you were going to say it was a Sharknado.
No, her favorite movie is Sharknado 1, 2, 3, and 4, and whatever. I don't know how many there are, but she can't get enough of them. And I think, as much as I love her, I think a little bit less of her when she tells
You
me
know
that.
what? Good for her. She made a choice. She has a favorite.
I can say that because we have a very good, healthy, close relationship.
That's okay. This won't be
Yeah.
a reel. All right. So I went with hops because I knew you were going to go frogs.
Fair.
So I was like, let me go with hops. This is a 2-part fact, but they're kind of tied together, which is an interesting choice of word for me. So do you know that hops do not grow on vines?
Why do I see them grow on vines then?
They grow on bines.
Really?
So bines grow and twist around something. Vines grow little tendrils like arms that grip onto things.
Oh, I was going to say, aren't those called tendrils?
No, but they're...
Okay, so run that by me one more time.
So bines grow and twist around something.
So the physical plant
Mhm.
is twisting around something.
While vines grow little tendrils that grip onto things. So like when you
Okay.
pull vines off of something, it's like pulling
Yes.
something that is almost like
Like little suction cups.
little suction cups or why can't I think of it? What's when you have two pieces that are Velcro? It's almost like Velcro.
Yeah.
Like some element of Velcro. But this is just, it grows around.
Yeah.
in
I did not know
vines.
that. That's awesome. Do you know where Velcro came from, the idea?
No.
Burrs. You know, like the burrs that
Oh
stick to your
yeah,
pants?
those things are terrible. I
Yeah.
get those.
So the guy that invented Velcro was covered in burrs one day. He's like, well, I could just make a material, hook and loop.
Yeah. It works insanely good. I have sweatpants that still have little bits of fragments that I can't get off.
Yeah.
Just because I like walked out. I think I walked out here and like something got on my pant leg. Anyway, part of that with the way of the bines growing, it says hops always twist in a clockwise direction. So even if you mess with them, they'll still unwind and go back to clockwise.
Why?
I don't know.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I did not know that. Hops are better than I thought they were.
This is a hops redemption episode. This is something where if you were hesitant about hops, or if you're like, you know what, I'm not a big fan of hops, but like, listen to this episode. There's a hot sauce that make you appreciate hops. There's facts that talk about how, they have their way. Even if someone messes with them, they're undeterred and they will keep twisting, and they're not as bad as burrs because they don't stick to you like these little tendril vines.
Take that, vegan. That plant is thinking.
Like, this is one of those, but this is also one of those facts where, like, if my son learned something, whether it be at school, reading a book, watching a show, or any of my kids read something, and they're like, yeah, that's cool. Like, they've got vines going around there. And I'd be like, it's vines.
It's vines, kiddo.
And then
Pipe down.
I've now redirected their trajectory where it's like, they're going to answer one thing and one day be like, oh, yeah, it's vines. Be like, no, it's vines. Be like, everything he said was a lie.
It's like the water boy. And then he stands up and says, well, mama says.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that's interesting. Also, I didn't want to interrupt you when you were talking about your tree frogs. When you burp, you do get more hops. Where it's almost like burping, not to the degree of drinking a hops
Did I
beer.
burp?
No,
I'm
I'm
saying,
saying-
like, did I?
No, I burped and no, when you burped, I was just like,
Oh, no.
no,
That's
I burped
terrible.
and like the taste, I was like, it isn't like beer burps that you have when you've had like a hoppy beer,
Yeah.
but it does, you can taste the hops again there. So, which doesn't affect anything other than just it's a curious thing to me. So, which I'm trying to make this episode somewhat shorter than our last one that we recorded that I had to edit. It's so long. It almost was a 2-parter, but we're doing
like
good.
an hour, right?
Yeah, we're doing good. All right. So we did the facts. The heat, yeah, I would say this is like a 2+. I think it is close to the lemon drop as far as on our scale. Now, everyone's scale is different. Everyone's tolerances are different when you're selling it to
Yeah.
the general public.
You are right. It does linger.
Yeah.
It lingers more than the
it lingers longer. And that's what I always focus on, how intense is the highest point. But I know family members that will be like, oh my gosh, it still burns, it still burns, it still burns. And I'm like, it is the faintest burn from what it once was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I haven't really thought about that. You have to take into account, like, hot to someone might be duration.
Think about that video that you sent me of the guy that ate the pepper on the news station, where it's like, here's this pepper. Was it the ghost pepper? Is it Boot Jalokia ghost pepper? He's like, oh, okay. Crunches right into it. And then he's like, oh, that was a bad decision. And it was
the guy
like,
who created it is like, I wouldn't have done that.
And it's like, how long is this going to last? It's like, oh, hours.
Yeah.
And so it's the lasting of it is also something I'm sure is factored into the heat scale, because if someone's like, oh, it's not that hot, it's like, okay, I'm going to try it and move on with my day. Oh, it's pretty hot. You're preparing them for, you're going to feel this
Right.
Yeah, I got another burp. It's a very hops burp.
I can't make myself burp.
Do it.
I can't. No, I can't. I literally can't. I don't know how to make myself burp.
I don't know why I went aggressive with that. All right.
I'm sorry.
Just do it. My mom can make herself burp. Why can't you?
I don't know.
She can make herself burp just like on repeat.
Courtney's going to kill me for this one.
Let me just tag this for the
right.
future.
Her and her friend, when they get together, like, girls are like closeted gross when they're together. They can make each other, like, they belch so loud together, and I think it's funny because it makes me dry heave. It is so freaking loud.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed with the intense burps.
Yeah, she never does it, but when she gets together with a friend, it's like ducks quacking. They don't quack by themselves; they quack together. And then,
did I know that?
Well, sometimes. I mean, if you watch the episode of MythBusters, does a duck's quack echo the only way they can get the duck to quack?
I know they fly together. I mean, I've seen movies about that, but quacking.
But yeah. Anyways, you might have to take that one out.
That's such a good part, though. There was someone in college that there was just like a group of friends that I had in college, and one of them, her boyfriend, she said, like, yeah, I never fart, burp, do any of that. I don't even tell him when I'm going to the bathroom. Like, he's never heard me reference that I have to go number 2. Yeah. I'm like, well, you do. You're a human. And it's like, no, just don't bring it up with him. Yeah. I'm like, that's extreme. Like, your thing is like, oh, like intense, but like that's moderate. This one that was extreme where I'm like,
yeah.
Does he think you're an alien with like no
right.
bodily function? Anyway,
a higher human.
We really hopped into a different thing here. Let's get back to the hops of the hot sauce. Segway. Owner of the Segway died by Segway. Anyway, creator of the Segway. Segway with a tangent. There you go. All right, so let's get into the score. We already talked about it's a 100-point scale. This one, before we tried these sauces, I was like trying to think of how to explain like why our score might be a little bit lower because of the hops.
Yeah.
And I ended up giving this an 84.
87. That's one of my higher scoring sauces.
We have very few sauces that are in the 90s. We just had the salsa verde, which I think was like an 88, 89, somewhere in there, from Roddy from Faya, which we talked about how high that score was. So it is crazy that this hop sauce is it's because it's so surprising and it's so unique. Like when you have a lot of sauces that it's like, hey, it's another, I don't want to, there's a lot of verde sauces. There's a lot of mango habanero sauces. There's a lot of, and each one of them is different and unique, but it is something where this is bringing a flavor that I would have never thought of and never would have been like, hey, I want a hot sauce with hops in it.
Yeah.
And they did it and they took it and made it just a really unique sauce. Mm-hmm. It's just a really good, a really flavorful sauce. And I almost want to keep trying it, not just because it's good, but because, like I said, when I try it, I try to pinpoint where the hops is, and then I'm following it, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
It's the raccoon holding the cotton candy that puts it in the water, and then it's the saddest video.
He's just feeling around for it. Like, where did it go?
It's a video that when I watch, it's the one thing that will spark a temporary deep depression.
Yeah.
Like 5 minutes of me going, all that raccoon want to do is wash off its cotton candy, and it's gone.
I think that video's funny.
It's sugar water. It is funny, but it also is just like...
It doesn't...
Sad raccoon.
It is kind of sad. It doesn't cut me, though, like the way it does Courtney. She's like, I can't watch it. Don't do it.
Definitely
I feel so bad
for
her.
Now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She's going to start bawling her eyes out.
You're going to come home. You're like, you showed me that video. I felt so bad. We've adopted 4 raccoons.
Yeah.
It's like, these aren't... Like, how do you adopt them? They're not
realize
pets.
We have a kid on the way, right?
It's like, I'm training them. They'll be fine. Set up the cat, like, along the top of the wall.
Oh, yeah.
Like, track like they do for cats, but with raccoons. With trash pandas. Fantastic trash pandas. Trash panda sounds like it's a bad nickname. It's actually a great nickname.
Oh, yeah. The little bandits.
Everyone loves pandas.
Yeah.
All right. So that was a great sauce.
Yeah.
Both sauces by Reds. Again, this is a Rhode Island sauce from Chef Deja Hart and Karsten Hart. They're going to be at the Boston Hot Sauce Festival. This is another great sauce. They've got, I think it's a 6, at the current time that I got this sauce, they had a 6-bottle array, barbecue sauces, salsas. They had a lot of stuff. This is one I'm going to have to go talk to my dad and be like, hey, listen, I know you didn't like these sauces when we tried them. you need to apologize.
Try
Or try them again. And then realize they are your ways.
Maybe he's just not a citrus guy. I don't.
That could be.
some
They're
people
both
out there
very
that
citrus
just-
forward. If
yeah.
you're not a citrus person, I know someone that's like very allergic to lemon, where it's like, hey, I can't talk to you for 24 hours after trying these sauces. Like
I promise, man, it's really good. Just give it a
and
shot.
citrus is a scary one because, we talked about how like you just squeeze the peel and like that gets in the air.
Yeah.
So it is a dangerous one to be allergic to. But fantastic sauces. Check her out at the Boston Hot Sauce Festival. Check out their website, Reds. This is RHED for Rhed. RedsHotSauce.com. Red's Hot Sauce on Instagram. You can get all the sauces there. Instagram can give you all the updates of where they'll be. Again, the Boston Hot Sauce Festival with Cast Iron Kyle. A lot of the sauce makers that we've tried and will be trying are going to be there. Hook and Arrow, Hell's Kitchen, Hot Graham Sauce Company. There's a lot. There's so many sauces that we still have to try too.
Mm-hmm.
Not to freak you out, but
No, I'm aware.
we got a bit. That's why it's good that we're not going to the Fiery Food Show till next year. That we didn't go this year and we're going next year, because even if we're like, we're only going to buy a little bit of sauce, there's so many sauce makers there that we haven't tried yet.
Yeah.
That would be intimidating. So, as always, special thanks to Summit 6 Design for any graphic or logo design needs. Reach out to them on Instagram. That's Summit 6 Design. They designed our logo. We're appreciative of that. Thank you to everybody for listening. However you listen, we appreciate you. If you have any suggestions or comments, or if you have anything you want to talk to us about, you can message us on Instagram or email us at theheatsourcepod@gmail.com for any feedback, requests, and comments. And other than that, I don't really have anything else. I'm kind of scheduling out where these episodes are going to post, because we had a couple like rush episodes that we want to get out to promote the Boston Hot Sauce Festival. So I don't know what our next episode is going to be. So it'll be a surprise for me too. So we'll be surprised together.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Just as long as there's more reptiles and amphibians on the bottom.
Reptiles and amphibians,
Got a
and
good
it's,
track record.
and it's full of IPA stouts and hops.
See ya.
All right. Ooh, that was a good one.